Hello everyone. Another restoration, what a challenge. Let's take a look. Two men approach a rustic barn where a forgotten treasure awaits. Inside, covered in dust and neglect, is an old car. After a quick inspection confirming that the car has been sitting for decades, they prepare it for extraction. The team pulls a specialized trailer up to the barn, clearing a path through the overgrown grass. With a winch cable attached to the undercarriage, the dusty sedan is carefully pulled from its long slumber, rolling into the sunlight for the first time in years. Once secured to the trailer, the journey to a new life begins, away from the quiet farmhouse and into the workshop. At the garage, a forklift carefully lifts the classic car off the trailer and into the interior, where the real exploration begins. Looking closer, they found a time capsule. The interior, though dirty, was surprisingly well maintained. In the glove box, they found the original owner's manual, complete with the original metal license plate. The odometer read just over 64,000 miles. Searching the back seat and trunk, they discovered a treasure trove of vintage parts, including new hubcaps, a brand new carburetor, and even an old fire extinguisher. The final frontier was the aircraft engine. Lifting the heavy hood, they found a huge rat's nest and decades of accumulated dirt that had completely covered the engine. Wearing masks and gloves, the men began a meticulous cleaning process, first by hand and then with a high-powered vacuum, sucking up the last remnants of its long winter dormancy. The Oldsmobile, now purged of its past, was finally ready for a full restoration. The classic now in the workshop, the decisive moment had arrived. A mechanic sat behind the wheel, turned the key, and after a few hesitant cranks, the long dormant V8 suddenly wheezed into a rough idle, billowing with smoke. The journey to life had begun. The first task was to tackle the fuel system. A quick check revealed a sludge plug blocking the fuel filler neck, which needed to be cleared immediately before adding fresh fuel. After pouring in fresh engine oil and priming the carburetor, the engine started again, but the glass fuel filter showed dirty, black fuel, indicating a problem with the fuel pump. The mechanics found a new replacement part in the spares box and inspected the old one on the floor, confirming it was barely working. After installing the new pump and cleaning the lines, the engine roared back to life, running much smoother as the clean, golden fuel now flowed freely. Next, the team tackled the brakes. The master cylinder was completely dry. After draining the reservoir, they filled it with new brake fluid, but all attempts to flush the system were futile. The brake fluid was leaking out as quickly as it had gone in. The cause was a faulty master cylinder. They unbolted the corroded old assembly and replaced it with a brand new one. Moving on to the wheels, they removed the brake drums to find the source of the leak. The wheel cylinders had failed, flooding the brake pads with brake fluid. A complete overhaul of the brake system was now underway, one critical step at a time. The search for parts took the two men to a forgotten classic car lot, where they rescued a much-needed trunk lid from a decaying donor car. They carefully unbolted it and lifted the heavy panel, carrying their loot back to a trailer already loaded with other salvage body parts. Once secure, they headed back to the shop, crossing the railroad tracks that marked the transition from decay to restoration. Back at the garage, the meticulous disassembly of the 1961 Oldsmobile continued. Working together, the group removed the rusted door hinge pins from both the inside and outside. Once the pins were removed, they carefully lifted the heavy door from the car. The process was repeated with the trunk, where they unbolted the hinge pins and removed the original, damaged trunk lid, setting it aside. Now, attention turned to the salvaged trunk lid. An orbital sander works, removing decades of faded paint and rust from the surface. Defects are marked before a hammer, and trolley are used to carefully work out the dents, returning the metal to its original shape. After sanding down the repaired areas, body filler is mixed and applied carefully, filling in any remaining hollows. Once cured, the filler is sanded smooth, erasing any traces of previous damage. Finally, with the bodywork complete, the car is carefully shielded in plastic. Primer is mixed and loaded into the spray gun. In smooth, even strokes, a fresh coat of paint is applied to the repaired panels, the hood, doors, and trunk lid, to blend the old metal with the new, creating a clean gray base for the car's final, brilliant finish. With the interior clean, the restoration team began tackling the filthy floor. A mechanic scraped away decades of accumulated grime before a powerful vacuum sucked up the debris, revealing the rusted but sturdy metal underneath. The team removed the old seatbelts and then began the process of restoring the faded and yellowed seats. Using specialized vinyl and fabric spray paint, they meticulously applied each layer, first a light gray and then a dark blue, carefully masking the missing pieces to create a crisp two-tone finish. Once the paint dried, the restored seats were painstakingly reinstalled, breathing new life into the neglected interior. The transformation didn't stop there. Door panels were cleaned and refreshed, and dusty windows were polished to a flawless shine. A set of vintage Venetian blinds, prepared and painted white, were carefully installed in the rear windows, adding a classic touch. With the interior complete, the final exterior trim details and a custom license plate were installed. Finally, the garage doors opened to reveal a fully restored 1961 Oldsmobile Dynamic 88. The car gleamed under the shop lights, a testament to the hard work and dedication of the team. The engine roared to life, and the car rolled out onto the road, its white wall tires gliding across the asphalt into the beautiful sunset, reborn and ready for the next chapter. Another flawless restoration? Thanks for following along. See you in the next article.